What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we're going to be continuing with our Soulmate series, and we'll be talking about what happens when planets come in contact with people's nodes and what that means in the grand scheme of, soulmates and things like that. Alright? But before we get into it, I just want to take the time out to say thank you and show my appreciation for all of my subscribers, all the people who, hit me up, not just for my personal services, but to let me know how dope they think the channel is, let me know how much they've learned, and, also answer questions and things like that. So you're appreciated, and I thank y'all for appreciating me. Let's get down to business now. So I was thinking to myself, should I do like just the South Node or just the North Node or whatever? But realistically, I want to try to make an overview of them both so you understand what this means. So we're keeping it in mind that when we're talking about soulmates, it's not just for a romantic kind of love, but I need a soulmate to help me grow, to help me learn these lessons that I need to learn, right? And in one capacity, it can be like having a mentor. So when we come in and we look at nodal contact, it's vast, but for the majority, we can say these people are like meant to be mentors. Remind you of certain things or teach you certain things. So let's start with the South Node. When we have certain planets contacting your South Node, okay, this is what we need to do. We need to figure out, am I the South Node person or am I the planet person? Okay? And if you're the South Node person, listen up. The people who come near your South Node with their personal planets, majority of the time it's going to represent people in which you had that planetary role. You affected them in the realm of whatever that planet represents. For example, if someone's moon conjuncts your South Node, it's very likely, right, one, that there was some type of emotional connection. Whatever realm of life this may occur is going to be reflected by the houses, okay, that it is in. If it's like the second house for you, it could represent, like some type of parental connection or familial connection, whether it be your sister, your mother, something like that, right? If it was like the seventh house, that could indicate a very strong type of partnership, likely romantic, and other aspects denote that, right? So it'll show that in the past life, whatever emotions or your emotional state, right? This is why it's kind of like a mirror. You're going to get a reflection. So based on however you were emotionally in the past, that person, the moon person, is going to mirror that back to you. Okay? So I'm a Virgo moon, so let's use Virgo moon. Say you have a South Node in Virgo and you come in contact with someone who has a Virgo moon. Well, we know that Virgo's an earth sign, so the person isn't going to be like, oh, come here, let me nurse you or nurture you like a Cancer would, but it'll more so, they're going to want to do a lot of little things for you, because that's what Virgo represents, the little things, right? And say this is occurring in your ninth house, right? It could be very much so, this person could represent some type of teacher that you have, right? They can be a teacher, right? And they're here to emotionally connect with you, to teach you about the little things in life, right? So just think in the sense of, all right, what's the relation to my past life? In the past life, you most likely were very Virgo-like in your emotional expression, especially regarding the relationship with that person. So it's kind of like when the nodes come into contact with people's personal planets. This is where, when we say debt, the debt gets repaid. And more times than not, the person repaying the debt is the South, is not the South, it's the personal planet, the planet person. Okay, so if it's your South node, you're on the receiving end of what the person is trying to give, right? Then let's use Sun as an example, okay? And for all you romantics out there, we could say that it's let's say someone's sun conjuncts your South node, and this is occurring in the 7th house. And then in your 5th house, right, is their Venus, right? Or maybe their 12th house is your Venus. This is a strong indication of a past relationship, okay? If we're speaking in terms of that person being the opposite sex, it's likely, right? But even if it's the same, that's the thing about karma. We don't know, all right? So it's very likely to show that you were involved in a relationship with this person. And with it being the sun, it's like the sun person, you in the past sense were the sun. But now the sun person is showing you what you were. So however the nature of that relationship is, will show how you were with the sun person. So for instance, if the sun is, maybe their sun is in Aries, it can show that you were, and right, whatever level of expression that planet person shows, like I said, will show you how you were. So if the person brings to you the impulsive side of Aries, you were probably very much so impulsive back then. If it's the courageous side, or if it's the the very bright side, the outgoing side, that they're very much here to remind you or show you that you need to display these qualities in the here and now. Okay? So that's a little bit about the South node. And I'll just say this before I go to the North node. If you feel like, so if someone is really close to your South node and there's a planet there, you're gonna need to check, and you want to be with someone, like in a romantic sense, the aspects that the nodes make, as well as the other planets, are going to have to be really, really taken into account here. Because one thing with the South node, it represents things that we are supposed to let go of or we don't need. Alright? However, in your own personal chart, if it shows that your sun in your chart is conjunct your South node, then it's in order to fulfill your soul's purpose, you will need to rely on the things, your qualities from the past, or people from the past as well. But more times than not, the South node, contact with those people it's to remind us. But if we choose to stay there, possibly it shows lack of growth. So what normally happens in this, it's funny I use the South node conjunct the sun example. The South node person, more times than not in that example, resist the sun person, because it's a reminder, unless you, like I said, you really are in tune with your past, or you're working on karma that you need you're working with karma that can help you, you're gonna resist like the sun person, okay? Because the sun person, they may try to exert too much of their will or ego, okay, which will repel the South node person, just to know, okay, I kind of been there, I kind of experienced that. So the South node relationships are very tricky. They feel natural, but they're not always meant to be, right? How we feel, that familiarity, doesn't mean that it's necessarily meant to be. So let's talk about the North node now. North Node, North Node, North Node. Ooh, the present, what we're here to do now. So this is a lot easier to interpret. So because you're the person, the planet person is going to be having an immediate impact upon your destiny, upon your North Node, right? So if it's Venus conjunct your North Node, it's a world of possibilities. Okay, it could show that this person is vital to your sex. This partnership is vital to your success, or you need this partnership in order to reach where you're going, right? And then the house, just as a reminder, is just going to show us where this should be taking place, where we want to try to apply what we're learning to. All right. If it's, now the house for the North Node, I was like saying that the sign and the house are fairly important, but I don't know, something for me when the house just shows a lot more. Okay. So for instance, if we get someone's North Node in our 10th house, right? Or if our North Node goes into someone's 10th house, despite how the relate, and you may not even know it, but things you do or anything you taught the person or based on that partnership could have play a major part in their career and what they decide to do. Quick example, say, like I said, that's why it's anyone who's had just a major impact on you, and you've imprinted that and know, okay, based on what I learned here, I'm going to use it as an example. I'm going to use it to my advantage. So, for instance, we get somebody with Saturn. We get a Saturn person conjunct your North Node, right? And Saturn represents elder people. So, say this person's Saturn comes into your 10th house, right? Even if it's a grandparent, or just to use an example, I know someone who told me, years ago, their mother worked like with elderly people and things like that, and as a kid, they would spend a lot of time with their mom, at work and things like that. And they had difficulty reading. And there was a particular old person that just, took to them and taught them how to read. And that the person is now a teacher. And because of that instance, although it may have lasted for a year or whatever, that connection and how that person taught them how to read propelled them to want to teach others. Okay, and then when we're going back looking over it, okay, you'll find the person find out like, wow, this person, based on me knowing their information, would have had Saturn in this, which would have fell into my 10th house. So I was able to make that connection. So when it comes to the nodes, man, it's so many things that you have to learn, and with the nodes, especially North Node, it shows things that are kind of faded. All right, so it just goes to show that soulmates are a vast thing. You can believe in them or not, but on this channel we believe in them. Okay, so that's just a little bit about what happens when you have North Node and South Node contact. This is my episode for today. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so. Until next time, peace.